This is CBC Here and Now.
The sentencing submissions in the dangerous driving causing death case of Austin Deer have concluded. That story coming up.
2 suspicious deaths in St. John's are being investigated as homicides.
The RNC is providing an update on the deaths of 2 men in St. John's last week.
The Food Hub is allowing us to help the community by putting locally grown foods on the plates of the families who want them.
We'll hear about a program making it easier for West Coast farmers to connect with their customers. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. A man charged with 2 counts of attempted murder made a brief court appearance this afternoon. As Ryan Cook reports, questions remain about his mental health and whether he's fit to stand trial.
Mitchell Rose walked through the doors of Provincial Court Wednesday for the second time with his family there for support. Rose was sent for a psychiatric evaluation on Tuesday to see if he's fit to stand trial. The doctor told the court Rose refused to participate, so they've requested to keep him at the Mental Health and Addiction Center for another 7 days. The 32-year-old is accused of attacking 3 people at this apartment building on Anspach Street in St. John's. One woman was said to be in critical condition following the attack. He's been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 3 counts of assault with a weapon, and 3 counts of assault causing bodily harm. In a post on social media, Rose's sister wrote about her brother's struggles with schizophrenia. She says he was discharged from his community treatment program a few months ago due to non-engagement. They spent recent days trying to get him in the hospital, going to his apartment Monday to beg him to go, but he refused. And then the worst happened. As a family, we are devastated for our son and brother, Janaea Rose wrote, and equally devastated for the innocent victims who did not deserve this. If my brother had been discharged from the program he relied on, or if someone had reviewed his medical history yesterday and taken steps to admit him, this could have been prevented. I spoke with Rose's mother and sister just a short while ago. They told me there's one small win among a sea of misery today, and that's the fact that their loved one will spend the next 7 days in a psychiatric hospital instead of a jail cell. Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, 2 suspicious deaths in St. John's last week are now considered homicides. 2 men, aged 38 and 53, were found dead inside a home on Aldershot Street last Monday. Police say they're still canvassing the area, reviewing video and conducting interviews. No cause of death has been determined yet, and no arrests have been made. But the RNC says there is no information to suggest that these were random attacks.
So there's no information to suggest that these were random attacks. We have a major case management team assembled, a full complement of officers and civilian members dedicated to the investigation.
Well, Austin Deer has apologized to the families of the 2 young women he killed in a highway collision almost 2 years ago. The 73-year-old Mount Pearl man addressed Clarenville Provincial Court on Tuesday. Troy Turner reports.
Austin Deer says he understands there's nothing he can say to diminish the pain of the families of Aaron Priddy and Haley Keating and the loss his actions have caused. But in addressing Clarenville Provincial Court for the first time, he said he is truly sorry. During sentencing submissions this week, the 73-year-old Mount Pearl man said, quote, "My waking hours are consumed with regret and remorse that will remain with me forever. I no longer enjoy the simplest pleasures, such as spending time with friends and family." He went on to say he only sleeps a few hours at a time, and even then it is plagued with nightmares. Quote, "I know they have said that I don't feel remorse, but nothing can be further from the truth." The family of the victims, however, say it comes too late.
That was an apology that was long overdue. If he had come to me or sent a condolence or anything after this had happened a long time ago, then it would have been a genuine one. But to have one presented just to look good in front of the judge, it's not really something I wanted to listen to.
Tensions outside the courtroom between all families involved continued during the sentencing submissions this week.
We're here because of what he did. Nothing I did. Nothing you did.
The Crown Attorney says house arrest is not appropriate here and is calling for 3 to 4 years in jail. The defense says there is no sentence that can match the family's immeasurable grief, but also said that this was a one-off and is, quote, not who Austin Deer is and who he was for 70 years. They're looking for 2 years house arrest. The family of the girl say moving on will be difficult, especially with the holidays around the corner. But Haley's mom says she looks to her other daughter for purpose.
I don't know how we're going to get through Christmas again this year, or any day for that matter. I guess it's just Macy that keeps us going right now. I don't know if you heal from the loss of a child. And it strikes me as funny that people think you just heal and move on. I don't feel like that's something we're going to do.
With the conclusion of sentencing submissions, the next step in the case of Austin Deer is the sentencing itself, and that's scheduled for February 6th here at Provincial Court. Troy Turner, CBC News, Clarenville.
Now to the West Coast, where farmers and their customers connect in a big way through the Food Hub. The branch of Food First NL allows people from Gros Morne to Bay St. George to buy local groceries each week. And as Colleen Connors explains, the program has expanded to make pickups even easier.
A twisting hallway leads to these new fridges and one of 2 new pickup points. It's all a part of a new partnership between the Food Hub and the People of the Don Indigenous Friendship Center.
Right now, we're seeing an uptake in food security issues, and so we've shifted a lot of our focus in that direction lately.
These fridges get stocked each week with fresh vegetables, frozen meat, and seafood. Customers use it as their grocery store.
Well, the Food Hub is allowing us to help the community by putting locally grown foods on the plates of the families who want them.
The Western NL Food Hub was piloted in 2021, launched in 2023, and has produced 7,000 orders to date. There are 2,700 registered customers, but they don't all order every week. In Corner Brook at the main hub, it's customer pickup day at the new location. The Food Hub also offers deliveries through the Humber Valley all the way to Deer Lake with the new electric van.
Yeah, so just reaching local customers and going to where they are is what we're trying to do. Make it as convenient as possible for our local customers to be able to buy local food.
But feels this dynamic, ordering online and buying local fresh food, is the answer to food security. In a time when food costs so much and the shelves are so unpredictable.
Yeah, so it's just important to be supporting our local food producers year-round. I mean, you know, we're at the end of the food chain when it comes to the global food system moving into the province. So the more we can support our local food producers, the better. And we operate year-round here at Food Hub.
A strong commitment from the North Pine Foundation assures this place will run for the next 2 or 3 years. The foundation also supported a new Avalon Food Hub that offers the same setup for customers on the East Coast, along with another electric van. So customers can continue to buy their meat, seafood, vegetables, baked goods, and coffee, all in time for the holiday season.
See, during like Thanksgiving season, there's families who order all of their foods from with bundles and stuff. So we see people using the service for various different needs, and we don't expect that to change through the Christmas season. We expect it to pick up, actually.
Colleen Connors, CBC News, Stephenville.
Now an update on a story we brought you earlier this year. Tyler Templeman is making big strides in recovering from a traumatic brain injury. When we first heard Tyler's story, his family was giving credit to a speech-language pathologist, but behind the scenes, someone else is making a big difference. Tyler's brother. The CBC's Jenna Head reports.
Being part of a family that is fierce and ready to fight. When Matt Templeman heard his brother Tyler was involved in a workplace accident, he didn't hesitate to help. He says it was instinctual.
There was no if or pros and cons. I knew right away what I wanted, and I wanted to come home and support my brother.
Providing that support for his brother also meant reorganizing his own life. Templeman's job with the Canadian Armed Forces allowed him to transfer from Halifax to St. John's. And his girlfriend, who is now Templeman's fiancée, picked up and went too.
She didn't question it, she didn't guess. She just packed up and she was ready to move over and help not only myself, but my family as well.
Since moving home, Templeman's days have consisted of working full-time and attending Tyler's different appointments. Doctors initially told them Tyler wouldn't make it, but 2 years later, Tyler's outlook has improved drastically. He's breathing and eating on his own. He sings.
only you when they're playing.
He's relearning how to talk.
Money. What's something that we need money to buy? Stuff. What kind of stuff? Everything.
And walk.
Left, right.
Right. Baby. Left. Lift it through.
Left. Come on, buddy.
And we're at the point now of trying to get him to have some more independence for his quality of life and for his life moving forward.
It's something Templeman wishes more people would and could do.
I wish that more people were so kind and giving towards their family members in, say, times of need. Because you never know. You never know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to wake up and who's going to be there, who's not going to be there.
To celebrate Tyler's accomplishments and take some much needed time for rest and relaxation, his family is doing something extra special for Christmas this year.
Where are we going? Yeah, we're going to Jamaica.
What a feeling. Hey, buddy. You can't wait. I can't wait. Pool first. Pool or beach?
Jenna Head, CBC News, St. John's.
Lovely story. Well, winter doesn't officially start until later this month, but some people are already eager to break out their snowmobiles and hit the trails for some winter fun. But as the CBC's Zach Russell reports, safety experts hope those fun lovers keep safety top of mind.
Here at the Grand River Snowmobile Club, these groomers have already been out this year. But what kind of safety precautions should people take when using the trail system to have a little bit of fun?
We recommend at least 5 or 6 inches for people to walk on and smaller skidoos. You get up to about 6 to 8 inches for skidooing and traveling that way. For us with the groomers, we need 20 inches of solid clear ice to start making our trails on those.
The president of the Snowmobile Club is excited to see the early snowfall because the past seasons have been very different.
The past 2 years, the temperature hasn't been there at all. We've had warm temperatures right up till Christmas time. We still maintain a white Christmas, but not enough for us to get started with our trails. This is more of a normal year for us. Yeah, it's nice to see this cold and snow before Christmas. We can get started. We've been out a couple of times now the past couple of days to start tracking in the trails, packing snow down, and if we get another half-decent snowfall now next week or so, we'll start grooming trails.
The club has paired with Search and Rescue before to remind riders to be trail smart. This year, they are continuing that message, reminding riders that early snow conditions do not mean safe ice.
Yeah, we're eager to get to cabins. We're eager to get out fishing. We're eager to get out for a ride in the evening. Right now, if you look out, it looks like it would be a beautiful day to take off on snowmobile to go out the bay. But in true fact, the shipping lane is still open there and the shipping run is full open water.
With open ice and fresh snow on land and sea, Da says there are some precautions riders can take to stay safe.
There's 3 T's to any outdoor adventure, and it's trip planning, training, and taking the essentials. Whenever you're going out on a snowmobile or any type of ATV, make sure that you know how to use your vehicle.
Da also shows some tools to take, like an ice pick to grab into the ice if you've fallen in, or a whistle to alert people around you if you're in danger. But most importantly, Wheeler and Da want riders to have fun and be safe. Zach Russell, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
The Newfoundland and Labrador Liquor Corporation began restocking its shelves with American-made alcohol today. Earlier this year, the province pulled U.S. manufactured booze off the shelves in response to tariffs from President Donald Trump. Well, today, staff were busy putting it all back and people were buying in bulk. The Crown Corporation has more than $3 million worth of American alcohol for sale this holiday season, with plans to donate $1 million of the profits to the Community Food Sharing Association.
Well, we had a little bit of a break in the weather today. That was nice, but it is very short-lived. We've got some rain or snow on the way tonight as those temperatures warm up and continue to warm up as we head through the day tomorrow. In fact, some of us could see 20 to 30 millimeters of rain before that is all said and done. And then we have another system by the time we get into early next week. This one looks like it's likely going to pack a punch. Obviously, I don't have very many details, but we will talk about what I can talk about when I come back a little later.
A Conservative MP's float in the Trinity Bight Christmas parade is causing a local resident to question the place of politics in parades. Jonathan Rowe, MP for Terra Nova, the Peninsulas, had a float featuring someone dressed as a Grinch in a cell with a sign reading "Jail, not bail." That's in reference to Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party pushing to amend the criminal code to make bail more restrictive for repeat violent offenders, Bill C-242, which the Conservatives call their Jail, Not Bail Act. Rowe declined a request for an interview and instead issued a tongue-in-cheek statement. He writes, "As a non-citizen of Whoville, the Grinch should have been deported and at the very least locked up for his repeated crimes." One Port Rexton family didn't appreciate Rowe's bringing political messaging into the parade.
I know democracy is all about different points of view, but it demands facts and fairness and kindness, and surely exaggeration and fear have no place in a Santa Claus parade.
The City of St. John's has released new guidelines for developers. It explores how to design homes so anyone can live there.
How do we design so that we really include everybody? It really means kind of eliminating barriers. So things like no-step entries, wider doorways, wider hallways, really having things placed conveniently, like washers and dryers near bedrooms, for example. And so it's really just about facilitating complete ability to do all the key things you should be able to do in your home with minimal effort.
We want to make sure that the public understands the value of universal design. Just so for me personally, my husband and I are talking about, the second phase of life, right? And recognizing that we may not be able to age in place or likely won't be able to age in place in our home. And many people are having those conversations. And so this is a way to, a resource to be able to see, well, how could we potentially renovate our home? If I was today a younger person building a new home, I'd be thinking about a house for a lifetime and the potential for multi-generations in that house. And universal design absolutely helps you to be able to develop that.
And Lynn, how is the city incorporating universal design in other areas?
Well, you would see, for example, the new Muse Center, much more accessible than the former center. And, I think that we also, you have to recognize that we have older infrastructure that, is not necessarily accessible.
A gift during the holidays, even a small one, can make someone feel like they belong. And that's why the Association for New Canadians collected gifts this morning in St. John's. They held a gift drive to help give a sense of belonging to newcomers during the holidays.
We were going to have a 2-day drive-up drop-off event, but actually, as we all know, last Wednesday was blizzardy conditions, so we just have one day, which is today, and we are here hoping to collect donations of winter gear, of gift cards, and any other toys, other donations, snacks that folks would want to drop by.
We're welcoming anybody from the community to help our newcomers' families.
So these will be for the newcomer families associated with the Association for New Canadians. We do have an awesome partnership with the Salvation Army and their Christmas hamper program, but given the volume of families here, we just are looking for additional support beyond that amazing partnership. And like I said, we're focusing on winter clothing because that's a real need. We have a lot of families that have just arrived from Eritrea, from Sudan, from Myanmar and Bangladesh, from Rohingya folks from the refugee camps, so they don't have warm winter gear, and that's really that's our priority area. We were looking for hats, coats, mittens, gloves, snow pants, boots, and really in all sizes for all genders, because we have families, again, that are coming with nothing, and so we really hope to bundle them against the Newfoundland cold.
It is time for the weather. Carl is out and about.
Yes, there are a lot of folks here in the Avalon Mall cinemas playing chess.
How do you do, sir?
Ashley, it was pretty quiet out there today, a bit of a break.
Yeah, that's right. We did see a little bit of activity on the west coast of the island, but that ended. The break is very short-lived, let me tell you that. We've got a couple of areas of low pressure that are going to move in, and that is going to change as we head through the night tonight. So this area of low pressure already starting to bring some snow out ahead of it. That's because it's encountering some cold air, and really most of Labrador seeing some of that cold air as well. But under that warm front, or on the backside of that warm front, I should say, much milder air, and that will move in as we head through the night tonight. Then we've got this other area of low pressure that's bringing some unsettled weather to parts of Ontario, delaying flights in Montreal. That is going to head our way as we head through tomorrow. And again, a little bit more milder air with that. And we're in for a little bit of a thaw with this system. So right now, already seeing a little bit of flurry activity or light snow there. This will be relatively short-lived because we will see those temperatures climb as we head through the night tonight. We're already starting to see that. Those temperatures and wind chills only into the minus single digits right now, -2 in St. John's. But we do have some milder temperatures in Port aux Basques already at +2. And again, we will see that warm air advance as we head through the night tonight. And I've put that on there for you so that you can see when that will happen. Pretty much as we head into 9 or 10 o'clock, most of southern areas of the island will be seeing that change over to rain, and then the warm air will continue to work its way north. Now through the overnight, eventually the Avalon will start to see some of that milder air, so talking about 2 or 3 degrees for the St. John's area and even Bonavista by then. And then eventually it will push its way further north. Now, areas like Corner Brook, the Springdale area, you're looking at this continuing as snow until we get into the early morning hours tomorrow. And same thing with the Northern Peninsula. This will stay as snow actually for a good chunk of the day tomorrow. But there's a look at the temperatures up across Labrador. Very cold air still at play there. Lab City at -26 overnight tonight. The good news is light winds, but you're still going to have wind chills in the -30s. And then towards the coast, Nain, mild, relatively speaking, you'll be sitting at about -4 overnight tonight. But you are looking at some light snow continuing through the day as well. Now, through the afternoon, we will see the periods of rain for most of the island. Again, the Northern Peninsula, snow, and eventually we'll start to see some of that snow along the strait there in southeastern portions of Labrador as well. And then eventually we will see that warm air advance further north, and then the Northern Peninsula will change over to rain. The eastern portion of the island will see the most significant rain through the day on Thursday, and eventually those warm air will continue right into Friday as well. But up across Labrador, by the time we get to the overnight and into early Friday morning, the Upper Lake Melville area and Lab West will start seeing some of that snow as well. Now, how much rain are we talking? We could be seeing somewhere between 10 to 20 millimeters of rain on top of that snow that we're already seeing. Just keep an eye on your storm drains. If you haven't cleared those, just keep an eye on that, because we may see, I do think that the snow will take most of it, but there is still a chance for sure that we could see some pooling on the roads. And we could see some areas in some of the heaviest rain, could see upwards of 20, maybe even 40 millimeters of rain. So keep that in mind, even southern areas of the island as well. Now, as far as the snow goes, we'll see that push of mild air on Thursday, but into Friday, those temperatures will drop yet again, and then we'll see the development of some snow squalls. And this will bring yet again another round of wintry weather to those of you on the west coast of the island. And then that snow up across Labrador, and you could see 20, 30 centimeters of snow by the time we get into Friday afternoon. Here's a look at your daytime highs tomorrow. Again, mild for the most part, 4 to 9 or even 10 degrees. Those winds will shift eventually to southwesterlies, gusting somewhere between 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. But the Rec House area tomorrow, when we see those southeasterly winds, they'll likely be gusting upwards of about 100. And then for Labrador, staying in the minus single digits towards the coast, minus double digits for the west. And again, that snow arriving late in the day. We do have another system on the way by the time we get into Monday, and I'll have a little bit more detail on that coming up a little later.
Well, there was a lot of buzz around potential wind to hydrogen projects in this province a few years back, but we've seen little movement since. Nick Mercer is an environmental and island studies professor at the University of PEI. He recently wrote a paper about the viability of wind to hydrogen projects in this province, and he joins me from just outside Charlottetown. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on.
So can you start by telling us about your research?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really delighted to publish a newspaper, and the main title is Sustainability, Panacea, or Local Energy Justice. And really what it cuts to the core of is, will these 6 big to hydrogen projects in Newfoundland and Labrador be life-changing for the people who live there, or will they perpetuate injustices in terms of who benefits from these projects, who bears the risks of these projects, and ultimately who gets to consent and permit to these projects occurring in their backyard. So I answer this question through the use of media reports. So this has been a really well reported on issue throughout Newfoundland and Labrador, and we're lucky to have dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds of media reports around potential impacts of these projects. And I've been able to work to get all of those together in one place and try to draw some early conclusions.
Mm-hmm. And what were your conclusions?
Well, these wind to hydrogen projects are really interesting, right? They solve a long-standing barrier around the prospects for wind energy development on the island. So, we've been beating this drum for years that Newfoundland and Labrador currently has amongst the strongest potential for any jurisdiction in the world for wind energy development. I looked at one paper that said, if you turn the island of Newfoundland into a single wind farm, which I don't advocate for, we could produce 117 times the amount of electricity that we consume on an annual basis. But the big barrier to wind development historically on the island is that we don't have the population to consume it ourselves. We don't have the industry to consume it ourselves. So anything that we produce needs to go off island. And for better or worse, we are an island. It's not easy to get electricity to market to the people who need it. So wind to hydrogen has helped to solve this delivery challenge, because instead of needing to consume electricity the instant it's produced and then shipped to market, we can now use this novel technological process to create hydrogen, convert that hydrogen to ammonia, and then ship that ammonia around the world to global markets.
Back in 2022, there was a lot of attention being paid to these projects. That was when the German Chancellor and the Prime Minister at the time were in Stephenville, the area where World Energy GH2 proposed to put a wind to hydrogen to ammonia project. But what has changed since that time? Like, what is the appetite abroad now for hydrogen and ammonia?
Well, one thing I'm learning in this research is, the different roles of different portions of society. So the role of the private sector, A, to make money, but B, to try to create a market for their product, to try to create hype, to try to create excitement. And policymakers buy into this as well. Definitely politicians, a rising economic tide is good for re-election prospects, right? It shows an industry-friendly government that's pulling the right levers to build a new industry. But what I'm learning is that just because, and what the paper I think shows, is that just because the private sector is excited about something and the public sector is beginning to get their ducks in a row to govern a novel industry, this doesn't mean that there's a business case for that industry. And that's the critical layer, because without private finance, without access to capital, these projects are never going to see the light of the day. So some of the data that I dug up in this specific project is around the enormous costs associated with green hydrogen production. So many don't realize that there's actually 1% of total final energy consumption on planet Earth right now does currently come from hydrogen. Hydrogen's not, a new fuel source or a new energy source. The problem is that the vast majority of it is synthesized from fossil fuels, mostly natural gas. And when you make this product out of fossil fuels, of course, it's a really greenhouse gas emissions intensive process. What's novel about green hydrogen is it doesn't use natural gas. It uses electrolysis, fresh water, and it takes the hydrogen out of the water. The problem is this is a really capital intensive process. It requires a lot of infrastructure. There's a lot of energy losses. And by the time you get it to market, it's a very expensive product to produce. So the data that I dug up suggested that gray hydrogen throughout the European Union, so that's hydrogen produced from fossil fuels, costs about 3.5 pounds per kilogram produced, whereas the cost of green hydrogen, so using renewable energy and electrolysis, is almost double that, so over 6.5 pounds per kilogram. So if we put this into lay terms, if you were driving down the road one day and one gas station was selling gas for $3 a liter, and the next gas station was selling gas for $1.50 a liter, you're going to pick the cheapest outlet almost every single time. Now, there's lots of things governments can do in terms of tax breaks and incentives and subsidies to try to lower the price from the more expensive consumer, but it requires a lot of resources to help bend that curve. And seemingly, we're just not there yet, where people and industries in Europe are willing to pay that significant price.
Nick Mercer, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
With many provincial court services suddenly suspended, the negative effects could soon spill over into other parts of public life. That's the warning from retired Crown Prosecutor Mike Murray, who says the court issue is everybody's problem. Here Now's Zach Gowdy explains.
If you're there now and you got your bathroom half done and you're hoping for a judgment against your contractor so you can hire another one, then it's a big problem for you.
Former Crown Prosecutor Mike Murray says the problems in the provincial court system will be felt far beyond the courtroom walls. Recently, Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Court suspended several key services, including civil hearings, traffic hearings, and all court services in some rural communities. Murray worked in those courts for decades before his retirement. He says each of those measures will affect all kinds of everyday people. Take civil courts, for example, where Murray says much work was done in recent years to make it more accessible. Now the suspension of those services is going to hit some folks in the wallet.
It really provides access to justice for people. Like if you've got to go to Supreme Court, you have to have a lawyer. You can't represent yourself over there. You know, if you've got to sue, let's say, your airline because your flight was delayed, if you've got to, if a small business owner needs to sue a supplier who's not paying or not providing the materials, if you've got a problem with a contractor. I mean, everyday people are using small claims all the time, and to have that avenue cut off, especially when all the work was done to establish it in the first place, is a big issue.
Murray says there's a similar issue with the suspension of traffic court. If someone gets a ticket today and decides to contest it, their court date may be scheduled in 2027. Already, the provincial government and City of St. John's are missing out on the revenue from those tickets. But Murray says the bigger issue is public safety. If people suddenly have no fear of getting a ticket that can actually be enforced, who knows what they might do behind the wheel? Murray says it's clear the court is struggling with staffing issues, particularly a shortage of sheriff's officers who do everything from transporting prisoners, maintaining order in the courtroom, guarding prisoners in overnight lockups, and all kinds of other tasks that are essential to the functioning of the court. While they scramble to staff up, Murray says the provincial court has concentrated resources where they matter most, on the criminal cases, and making sure those don't get tossed out due to unreasonable delays.
It's obvious from what's been closed and what's staying open that the provincial court is trying to goaltend around Jordan and protect the criminal cases from being stayed or thrown out. I mean, the real problems are going to be, you know, like I said, the people in small claims court who may have been waiting a long time for their day in court, and it's going to make a difference in, I think, traffic court in the moving violations, because public safety is an issue there. And if people feel that they can pass the school bus or speed and not be called to account for it, I mean, that could have an effect on public behavior.
The government has formed a provincial court efficiency committee that hopes to recommend solutions by mid-February. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
Now for an update on the Navigational buoy story from last week. The buoys will be returned. The Coast Guard removed the buoys from the water for the season, causing an uproar from the crews still fishing. The president of the Harbour Authority in Petty Harbour says there was a miscommunication, and he hopes the buoys will be brought back permanently.
It's a safety issue, right? I mean, we need navigation boys there so to guide the boats in the fog or in stormy weather or anything like that. And it's very important, and we get a lot of rough weather here, like coming this time of the year, so it's very important to have those boys there.
Well, child care advocates say they want to see the provincial and federal governments working together to create more affordable child care spaces. This comes on the heels of Education Minister Paul Dinn saying the federal government needs to increase funding to ensure $10 a day child care can thrive. The CBC's Jen White asked members of the advocacy group Child Care Now NL for their thoughts.
I think it's excellent to see that the minister appreciates the gravity of the situation, because stalled funding means that thousands of parents are still on wait lists. It means that operators who have put all this time and energy into developing new projects are still in limbo. And it means parents can't go back to work. So I really appreciate to hear the gravity of the remarks that were made yesterday. But I also, just my general reaction too is that it's not just on the federal government. The provincial government has a huge role to play here. It's not all just about the feds coughing up more money. This is a situation where the two governments need to work together.
Erin, I want to bring you in now. What kind of, how are we doing in this situation right now? How bad are things in terms of childcare in Newfoundland and Labrador?
Yeah, so if we look at the report that the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives put out in August, it states that Newfoundland and Labrador has a coverage rate for non-school age children of 3.5 out of 10. So that means that 3.5 children out of every 10 have a regulated childcare space in that 0 to 5 age category. So 35%. So that's not enough. And if you're a parent right now, you're likely on a wait list. We heard from the minister yesterday. He floated a number of 5,000 people on a wait list for childcare, which is huge. That's crazy, right? And this impacts families day to day, right? So it means that parents can't go back to work in some cases, are only able to go back to work part-time. They have patchwork childcare situations where we have grandparents providing some coverage, friends, sitters, all of these things that is really stressful on a family. And at a time when affordability is just so crazy for families, right? Mm-hmm. So having a regulated childcare space is life-changing, families say over and over again.
If you had an unlimited wish list here, what would be top of mind? What would be on top of that list in terms of fixing the childcare situation here in the province?
We want to see transparency. We want to see a government that prioritizes nonprofit expansion, primarily nonprofit childcare. And we want to see a system where the educators are adequately compensated so that we can actually staff the spaces that we create.
I totally echo Yolande's comments. We want to see transparency. We want to know how many spaces we really have created. We know that we're far from the CWEL targets. So the Canada-wide early learning agreement that was signed with the federal government said that we should have about 6,000 spaces by March of 2026 for children in the non-school age. The most recent data we had in August from that same Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives report said we have somewhere around 2,100. So we're somewhere 50 to 60% of our targets. We do really want to see that transparency coming from government to understand where we are. And like Yolande had said earlier, to consult with all the groups in our province, including ours, to make a plan forward so we can make childcare something that is accessible to everyone in our province.
From childcare to healthcare, doctors are highly trained, but a pair of third-year students at MUN's medical school say doctors may not always be aware of cultural differences, and that can lead to gaps in care. So the students started a newsletter called Beyond the Surface.
We look at various topics in medicine in terms of disease presentation, access to care, and even just lived experience, and we explore that through the various social determinants of health. So things like gender, race, socioeconomic status, education attainment. And we try to look at how these things are intersecting with one another. And essentially the goal is that by writing these newsletters, we are helping future physicians develop their ability to deliver quality, patient-centered, and culturally competent care.
These can be like unconscious biases or just things that you might not think of initially. So really our goal here is just to present these different perspectives and hope that this encourages future physicians and students to just kind of pause when they see a patient and just like reflect on all their background, their gender, their race, their ethnicity, their culture, and see how that might impact their disease presentation and treatment options.
Well, as government plans to review the Churchill Falls MOU and look at possible alternative uses for the power, one of the biggest companies in the world announced it wants to invest in the Canadian AI sector. Microsoft wants to inject $19 billion into data centers in Canada, but that requires a lot of power. The president of Microsoft was on Power and Politics last night, and host David Cochran asked him if the company plans to invest in new power generation and transmission projects as well. And Brad Smith says hydropower is on their list of potential energy sources.
part of what we do. Every time we invest in new data center capacities, we also invest in the work needed to bring the energy online. So our preference is carbon-free energy. That might be solar, it might be wind, it might be nuclear, it might be hydro, which of course is very important here in Canada, or it might be in natural gas. And if it's natural gas, then we also invest in other carbon-free energy to bring that to the grid. What I would say is this: we understand that if we're going to grow in Canada, we need to invest in a responsible way.
We're going to have a look at the long-range forecast, and you mentioned earlier that there might be some messier weather on the way, particularly next week.
Into next week, yeah. But it's going to be a little unsettled through the weekend as well. In fact, some colder air will return, and that means some snow squalls will return as well. So let's take a look at that first. I don't want to confuse anybody, but there's your Friday morning, and that area of low pressure is going to wrap around some colder air with it by the time we get into the morning hours on Friday. So This time we're looking at more of a southerly flow. So that means that the snow squalls will be coming from the south along with that wind. So that means that areas like the south coast, even the Avalon, potentially even the Bonavista Peninsula may see some snow squalls at times. Again, depending on the wind, but we could see those snow squalls at times through the afternoon and evening hours. And then same thing with the west coast of the island. Up across Labrador, still dealing with some snow, and that will eventually clear as we head into the overnight and into Sunday or Saturday morning rather. But temperatures are still going to be a little bit on the warm side. So we're still looking at daytime highs between 1 and 3 degrees, and along southern areas of the island there, you can see the Port Basque sitting at around -3 through the day. Up across Labrador, generally into the minus single digits, and then Lab City will sit around -8 through the afternoon. As we look ahead to Saturday, other than some onshore flurries for the west coast, again, it will be a fairly quiet day. Our daytime highs will hover around +1 in St. John's, -2 for those of you on the west coast. And same thing for the northern peninsula, and up across Labrador, ranging anywhere from 0 degrees towards the coast to about -11 rather in Lab City. Now, looking ahead to next week. Now, you know, it is very early to start talking about any sort of impact from a weather system, especially on Wednesday with something that we're talking about on Monday. But this one does look like we could see some significant impact with that as an area of low pressure moves in. Classic winter storm where we see that northerly flow potential, that we will see some strong wind with this, potentially heavy rain with this, and also some very heavy snow in the Monday to Tuesday time frame. So as that system moves through by Tuesday morning, we get into that northwesterly flow, and that means that we could see some additional snowfall with that, especially along the northeast coast. So this is certainly a system that you need to pay attention to if you do have any travel plans early next week. Now, let's take a look at the long-range forecast. Now, temperatures will stay above 0 for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. And then as we look ahead to central and western Newfoundland, your temperatures will be hovering near or even a little bit below 0 as we get into next week as well. So that means likely central and western Newfoundland will see, let's say other than the Avalon, we'll see some heavy snow on Monday. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at a little bit of a roller coaster with the temperatures, but staying firmly in the minus double digits for western Labrador with plenty of sunshine as you get into Monday. Our weather photo of the day is taken in St. John's at Cape Spear. A beautiful photo.
Stunning.
Isn't that gorgeous? With the sun rising. I love this time of year when the ocean is so blue and the sky. Gorgeous. Eugene, thank you.
So vibrant.
So vibrant. Thank you for that photo, Eugene. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, we love seeing them. Send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Eugene always sends in great photos.
Always amazing photos.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eugene. We appreciate you. All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.